Welcome back to the series where I'm walking around the whole of Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly in one trip. In this video, I'm walking from Carne to Talland, through multiple towns and villages, past Mevagissey, where I got not one but two injuries that could have ended the trip, along the St Austell coastline, around Parr, my favourite Cornish town of Fowey, and ending up just past Polperro. Good morning. Today is day 7 and we are waking up on Carne Beach, pretty much. Just need to brush my teeth and then we'll get off about 8 o'clock. Proper job. After having my first bed of the trip the night before, I didn't get much sleep this night, but regardless, I had to get on my way. Okay, we're all but packed up. My aim for the day is to get to about the St Austell area where I can camp around Porthpean, where there isn't too much town and it's more just fields. It is currently 8:30 and I am about to head off, so I shall see you in a minute. I headed off back down the field and through the bush to get back to the coast path and then resumed walking, having just hit over 100 miles and eager to get round the corner. This is Mallet's Cottage. Mallet's Cottage is a mysterious looking building with an interesting history. It has stood since the 19th century when a fisherman known as Mallet built it and went fishing from it with his boat every day. He then met his wife from Verien and only went and saw her on the weekends. In the 1840s he then migrated to Australia and the building was left in disrepair. 120 years later, his great-granddaughter hitchhiked from Bristol's Cornwall to see her family roots, and ended up getting picked up by the National Trust tenant farmer for the area. There were quite a few cool sights in this area, from the headlands and the island to the hut and this cool old bunker. First sheep of the trip. I could now see the next corner I had to get past, and by now I realised they look a lot closer than they seem, so I stomped off, trying to cover as much distance as I could today. Portloe was once a thriving pilchard fishing port with over 50 boats, and later became a haven for illegal brandy smuggling in the 18th and 19th centuries due to its sheltered location and challenging terrain. Unlike many of the second home and holiday-let coastal hotspots now, Portloe has largely retained its traditional character, with many buildings looking much as they did centuries ago. And before I knew it, I had made it through and was back on the coast path. I was starting to struggle a little bit on this length, with many ups and downs keeping me company. At this point, as you can probably hear from my panting, I'd gone up enough hills for a lifetime, so I had a quick break right around the corner from the next town.
Feeling good today. Once again, nothing's really hurting, it's more just part of the process and the time that it's taken, but feeling good, and yeah, let's keep on moving. Something I've found quite interesting is I've seen no adders yet, which this is the right time of year for them to come out. You'll usually see them basking on the roads or the paths, but I haven't seen one yet, so that's something we still have to look forward to.
Portholland is made up of the two hamlets of East and West Portholland, and once was a small community with a corn mill, lime kiln and pub that practiced fishing and agriculture. Today, the majority of the properties are owned by one estate, and the area is most well known for its appearances in Poldark. I saw my first rope of the trip and couldn't resist. Right around the corner, there was an old coastguard building, which provided these amazing panoramic views of the coastline. But after a few minutes admiring the view, I was back on the path and heading towards the next cool site only a short way down a hill. This is Carne's Castle, built in 1808 as a country house overlooking Porthloe Cove.
I am struggling a bit with the terrain today. It's quite up and down and a lot of steps, so that's a bit annoying, but I've just had some food. It's probably one of the reasons why it's harder, to be fair, so I should be alright for the rest of it. I'll try to get to Mevagissey, go to a cafe, have some proper food, charge up, and all should be good.
Already turning into my hardest day of the trip so far, the hills weren't letting me off, with still a long way until Mevagissey. This is Dodman's Cross, which stands on Dodman's Point, the highest headland on Cornwall's south coast, and was built in 1896. Ow. Gorran Haven was originally known as Porthjust, and it became a prominent fishing port with its first pier built in the 15th century. By the 18th and 19th centuries, it also served as a trading port, handling goods from Fowey. As I left the shop with some supplies, I met another hiker from Derbyshire for the second time, who was 26 days into his walk around the whole of Cornwall, and who was on the same boat as me from St Maur's to Place, and we had a chat.
It's incredible how kind people are.
Yeah, definitely.
Honestly, it is. You know, there's some bags about of it. I know. Well, there are. I didn't like Penzance.
That's where I'm from.
Oh yeah. All right, I'll say it wasn't my favourite place to stay at. Just passing through.
Have a good rest of your time. I'll see you in the future.
I'll no doubt bump into you again.
Yeah, no worries.
We'll probably swap phone numbers in a few ever up Derbyshire, but I doubt you ever will be.
Oh my god, I like a good travel, so maybe.
I never did see him again, but after saying goodbye, I headed off towards Portmellon and Mevagissey, which was only around the next headland.
I haven't given an update in a while, but I thought I'd show you this. I almost just stacked my face. Look at that. Look. That was like that, and then went like that. Brilliant.
After almost falling down head first from the broken step, I warned a few other hikers nearby who said they almost met the same fate, but unharmed, I carried on, ready for the next attack this stretch of coastline would throw at me.
It's gotten to that point, and I'm not even joking you, when I close my eyes I can see Google Maps names of places. That's probably not a good sign. I'm probably going crazy.
Possibly going a bit mad, I arrived at Portmellon, where I decided to find a pub to charge up and grab some food. Portmellon has a long history of boat building and fishing, and its cove was supposedly a forest before being submerged. Despite developing much later, it has a long history tied to Mevagissey, which we go through later today. I went into the Rising Sun Inn and plugged in my electronics, where I had a burger and some mac and cheese, which surprisingly didn't fill me up at all. And after 2 hours or so, I left to go past Mevagissey and find somewhere to camp.
So, We got a meal. We had a burger, which surprisingly was one of the best burgers I've ever had. Now, I don't know if that's the sun or if that is just the fact it's an amazing burger. And I also had some mac and cheese because still didn't quench my hunger. But now we're probably walking off to Mevagissey, trying to find somewhere to stay, maybe a few miles away. So, proper job. See you when we found somewhere.
Mevagissey has been inhabited since the Bronze Age, with its name coming from the two saints who brought Christianity to the area, Melon and Issey. Mevagissey was known as a pilchard fishing haven, with around 75 million pilchards being exported annually from the area, as well as being a haven for smugglers. Getting late, I didn't have enough time to stay, but I did have a walk through. At this point, I was quickly looking for a good place to camp and went through a bush and cut my head on a branch. The next clip I will blur, but if you're squeamish, you may want to skip past anyway.
Well, coming out of a bush, I just cut my head open a little bit. Bit of blood on my hand, but we move, I suppose. It's the stuff that happens.
Although there was a bit of blood, it wasn't threatening, and I looked out for the branches in the future, but I put some pressure on it for a few minutes and it stopped, but still, I had to find somewhere to camp.
Okay, just as the sun is setting, it is 9 o'clock and I think I found a pretty good spot. It's pretty close to a coast path, but you can't see it at all really, so I think this will have to do. And my head is also fine. Proper job.
I ended up going through a woods right next to the road coast path, but being no other good spots about, it would have to do.
Good morning from the abode. Not too much to say this morning. My head's feeling fine from that cut. I'm going to aim to get just past Fowey today. I need to get another ferry. And yeah, going to brush my teeth and then we're going to get up and go.
Having become a pro at putting up and taking down my tent now, I was on the way quickly, back out of the woods and approaching the next town.
And just like that, we're back on the path.
I ended up walking past Pentuan, a medieval fishing community which developed into a significant port that at its peak shipped a third of Cornwall's china clay. Whilst walking through, I picked up a pasty and enjoyed the breakfast of gods while looking over the coastline. Typically though, the day was not off to a good start, as there was barbed wire hidden on the path, and I got quite a gnarly cut on my calf. Nice little souvenir of the trip.
Wherever we are, loves their barbed wire. Look at this. The footpath, you climb this, but if you want to go that side, they've got barbed wire. So if you want to go around but you can't climb on top, you're going to cut yourself. That farm up there, they're stupid.
It was quite an unnecessarily dangerous path, with thin columns to walk down and barbed wire almost touching your side, but nevertheless, we had to get past it.
Once again, I'm going to mention this. Look how close that barbed wire is to that path. That should not be allowed. If you were to fall into that, you could seriously, it's a bit rusty as well. Like, come on, Southwest Coast Path and this farmer. Bloody hell.
A bit annoyed at the path, I was made happier when I saw the St Austell China clay mines in the background and the upcoming towns on the coastline.
I've just gone slightly down the wrong path into some private land, I think, so I've got to climb up all these steps again and find the path again. Really? Really?
Walking through this beach, I filled up my low waters and headed towards Charlestown.
This is Charlestown.
Over 200 years ago, it was known as West Porthmellon, a small fishing village with no harbour and just 3 cottages. The china clay pits in nearby St Austell began to flourish in the later 18th century, so a local man named Charles Rashley began constructing the harbour in 1790 and batteries to defend the village. The village was then named in his honour as it grew through shipping nearby resources. This village was also the first place in Cornwall that was bombed during World War II. As nice as a place this was though, I had to keep on moving if I was going to make it to Fowey tonight. Parr initially started as a small fishing hamlet and, like Charlestown, grew in the 19th century due to the mining industry, particularly with the production of china clay. The Parr docks, constructed in the 1820s, massively facilitated trade and transport of these local resources, further boosting the local economy. Today, Parr is most known for being a popular tourist destination, with hundreds of caravans and proximity to other tourist hotspots, as well as being a bigger, proud Cornish town. On my way through, I stopped at the co-op and picked up some snacks. This is the part you now meet your new friend for the trip who snuck on my camera, Mr. Dot, who has sadly slowed me down for quite a lot of the clips, editing to try and get rid of him. For too much of the trip, I cared to admit he would be accompanying, as I didn't have anything to check the footage on the trip. But regardless, we've still got a lot of journey to enjoy, and I was now heading to a pub for a free pint offered by someone who worked there and was following my trip.
And it's like, obviously you have to be Cornish residents to own it.
I used this as an opportunity to charge up, and it was nice meeting some Parr locals. I then left after about 30 minutes and got some loaded fries to enjoy on the nearby Parr beach. When I arrived, I got a message from a friend saying that I could stay at her flat in Plymouth in 3 days when she got back, but that meant I'd slow my pace down a bit to arrive when she was there. So for the rest of the day, I took it easy, not rushing anywhere like I had previously been. Polkerris is an old fishing village with a disused lifeboat station that was most successful in the 17th century, but today is a very popular tourist hotspot. This also marks the last village we'd visit today, and I was now on another favourite part of the Cornish coastline on the way to Fowey. After walking past the 1832 Gribbin day marker, the sun was getting low, and I was quickly approaching a group of woods I was eyeing up to camp, so I kept my eyes peeled for a good camping spot, but also on this amazing stretch I was walking through. The sun was giving off this golden orange colour light I thought was pretty cool. I thought about carrying on, but decided to check out this woods instead for a place to camp.
I think that this may be the spot for tonight. Sorry you didn't get the transition you were hoping for, but my bag's broken and it's going to be days until I can get a new one. This is the current state of the tent, and this is the current state of my bag. I don't know how this is going to affect it. It should be okay, I hope, otherwise I'll be kind of messed up for the next few days, but oh well, I'll keep an eye on it and let you know how it goes tomorrow. But yeah, I guess I'll just have to click now. Well guys, I think today's been okay, other than a few cuts and setbacks. I think we've done pretty well actually. Today we have got one of the best camping spots and days. We've got a view of Polruan across the River Fowey, and let's have a look. We're still behind cover, so we're not as seen, but it's still quite good. So tomorrow I hope to make it around the Polperro area. I'm trying to take a bit of time because my friend's not in her house until Sunday, so looks like I can enjoy the next few days walking and not have to speed along, which would be nice. But then again, I've also got to catch the 17th of May festival at Portpean and Talland, so I imagine I would have crossed the Tamara Way by then, which means I'll have to get a bus or a train or something. I'll have to figure that out in the future, but for now I'm going to get some sleep and I shall see you all tomorrow. Well, that's what I woke up to, being at a complete angle. That was fun.
After having to fight my way out of my fallen over tent, I brushed my teeth and packed up. Good timing as well, considering a massive tractor was driving by in the next field just as I got moving.
After going through a few fields, we are now back on the path. I'm going to take my jumper off, it's boiling. Today my zip kind of broke, so I'm going to have to put the tent on top and kind of make sure it's facing on top of that to try and stop it all falling out. But I've got laces I've tied the whole time through, and hopefully that should keep it together. All my kit is breaking, but oh well, what can you do? I've got a few days and I'll get to Plymouth and I shall have to get some new bits. But right now it is 8:30. And we have got to get to Fowey, so let's go.
With the next town only around the corner, I put together my broken bag the best I could and headed off.
fine. I had a terrible night's sleep.
I got to Ready Money Cove and digged out a bin bag to put over my failing tent bag, and then decided to go rock pooling. After finding a crab, I called it mission successful and went back to grab my stuff and head into town.
No, the toilet is...
This town is spelt Fowey but pronounced Foy and is my favourite town in Cornwall. This town is very old, with its church being built in the 7th century, and it lies on the River Foy, opposite Polruan. Its town and fleet has been used in many wars, and it was historically one of the most important ports in Cornwall for both exports of local goods to Europe and smuggling. Not to mention how beautiful it is. But before taking the boat across, I stopped to grab some food and charge up for an hour or so, and then randomly bumped into the Americans I had seen for the past 6 days in a row.
We have hiked the section, we liked it so much that we hiked the section from St. Ives Desert twice, and then we hiked St. Ives to Greenhead, and then this section, and we've done a section
Dorset.
Great
to see you again.
Oh, we're not taking the same boat?
No, I'm going straight to Polruan, unfortunately. I'll see you again soon.
Oh no, is that where you're ending today?
Yeah, no, I'll probably get to Polperro by today, I hope. So.
And that's where we're going to take that tomorrow.
Perfect, cool. See you soon, maybe.
We will, probably.
This was the last time I saw them on the trip, but they told me how they came back here every year to hike different sections of the Cornish coast path, and I could see why. And now I was waiting on the next boat over to Polruan.
We are currently at Foy, which is pronounced Foy, not Fowey, like it's spelled, and it's a good place to know where the tourists are, because otherwise they don't have to pronounce it. But otherwise, I'd say this is the most beautiful Cornish town, definitely top 3. And yeah, about to go on a boat to Polruan, so we can get on the other side and continue our walk. Proper job.
After waiting for about 20 minutes and looking around the harbour, I got on the ferry and was on the way to Polruan. Polruan has a very similar history to Foy, but was also well known as a centre for shipbuilding, as well as maritime trade, including a wine trade with Bordeaux, and has ruins of a church from the 8th century. I walked straight through, having spent enough time in Foy today, and headed towards the coast path to Polperro.
just an update on how I'm doing mentally. I'm doing pretty good actually. I've enjoyed today, so that's kind of given me a bit of a boost. I will say, however, I've got a open blister on my left foot. It's in between my big toe and the one next to it. So I've got a blister plaster on, but I think it's kind of come off and it's rubbing, but oh well, it's not really distracting me too much. It's kind of just something I have to deal with, eh? So got about 6.25 miles to Polperro, which is also a really nice Cornish town, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. And then hopefully by Sunday we'll make it to Plymouth and I can have a bed and a shower, and that's kind of keeping me motivated as well. So yeah, a lot to look forward to. Let's keep on moving.
I now only had about 3 miles until Polperro, with no other villages in between, and I was soon approaching a rather cliffy part of the coast path where you had to watch where you were stepping.
This has got to be one of the most dangerous paths so far. I mean, if you take the tiniest little step out, you're falling down this cliff.
All these massive step climbs were taking their toll on me, especially being the hottest day of the trip so far. This bit of path was quite unique, with nothing but a cliff to your right and a hill to your left for about a mile. The time was also getting on, so I was checking for camp spots on the way.
Right, here's what I'm thinking. So, the time is 6:30, which means I've got about 2 hours to find somewhere to sleep. Now, we are currently in Polperro, but everywhere around Polperro is on a cliff, and I can't sleep on a cliff, so there is a camping spot, campsite on the top of Polperro, which is about half an hour walk, which I could go to, but do I want to do that? Do I not want to do that? Or I keep on walking and just try to find somewhere flat? Got a bit of a dilemma. I think I'll just go down to Polperro, see what it's like, see what's happening, and then take it from there.
Polperro has been a fishing village since the 13th century, but is also known as one of Cornwall's most known smuggling hubs, particularly in the 18th and 19th centuries, with many houses being found to have hidden passageways that connected from house to house and down to caves. I had decided to not stay in Polperro and to walk through and try to find a camp spot in the next bay.
Okay, I've decided I'm not going to go to that campsite because who needs campsites? We're having fun. So now I've got to find a place that's not on a cliff that I can camp and also miss dinner and the rest of it. So yeah, well, it's going to be a fun evening. Let's go.
I could now see the last corner of Cornwall's east coast quite clearly, and that was only fueling me to carry on. I didn't want to go a lot further with the sun going down, so I was looking at every possible space that would be campable.
Right, I've gone quite a bit up the path now, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any good spot over here. So I'm going to have to go back and go into the woodland and hope there's a flat area. But yeah, it's a shame.
The sun was really getting low now, but not looking like there was any good spaces ahead. I went back for a double check.
Okay, I'm slightly off the path and slightly on a hill, but I think it's the best we're going to do. So I'm going to pitch up here, I think. Here's the view. Okay, this is it. It looks kind of slopey, but inside it's actually quite flat. It's kind of weird. I'll probably have a better night's sleep than I did yesterday. That's all I can say. Yeah, looking forward to it, but look at this sunset. So with that, it's currently 9:10 and I need to get some sleep. So I shall see you tomorrow.
And with that, it was the end of day 9 and the end of this eventful past few days. Subscribe to see the next few days, where I venture past Loo and the last Cornish East Coast corner to Plymouth, where I get a bed at a friend's house before heading on the Tomorrow Way, which links Cornwall coast to coast, and see how I ended up falling in a river and ruining my feet for the future of the trip.